Word of warning, the character of Master Voluminous is simply that, a character. He might not be evil, but he is definitely a bastard. So try not to let what he says offend you, okay? Enjoy.
Hello, my listeners. I am the mighty Master Voluminous, teacher, commentator, and most importantly to you, storyteller. Today we continue the Voluminous Read series with another story from the 6th chapter horror novella, Phinki. For those of you who are just joining us, we have looked at 3 stories so far. Tando Undelu, a woman who suffered a miscarriage as a result of her husband's abuse. Akonadala, a woman who was constantly stalked and harassed by her ex-boyfriend. Jordan Flory, a woman kept in her apartment by her controlling and abusive girlfriend. All of these women are possessed by an evil spirit called Okupinki and exact violent vengeance on their abusers. That vengeance, like all things, sadly comes at a price. If you're curious, I'd suggest seeing for yourself by either listening to the episodes on the podcast or purchasing the book on Amazon. Today, we're going to do something different because our protagonist of this story is not the victim, but the perpetrator, Amanda Smit.
Before we begin reading, I am going to list all the ways in which you may seek more content or an audience with the Master. First, check out mortiferousarcadia.blogspot.com. That is our main website. Or send an email to mortiferousarcadia@gmail.com if you wish to express how this story made you feel. Look up Mortiferous Arcadia on Facebook and Wattpad. And finally, search Master Voluminous on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Tumblr, DeviantArt, or Pinterest and give us a follow. Phinki by Enyadike is available on Amazon. Now then, on to the story.
Amanda Smit. She sits atop her husband and rides him. The intercourse is silent, awkward. He stoically stares at the ceiling, grunting occasionally, until she climaxes. After taking a moment to catch her breath, she gets off him and goes to the bathroom. When she comes out, he is lying on his side with a blanket over him, facing away from her. Frowning, she goes downstairs to the kitchen, takes out a pitcher of water from the fridge, goes back upstairs and pours it on his head. He gets up screaming and she slaps him, stopping him from waking the children. He looks up at her in confusion, which earns him a glare, making him look down and apologize. He stands up and kisses her. She smiles and gives him the pitcher to take back to the kitchen. When he gets back upstairs, he finds her sleeping on her side with the blanket on, facing away from him. He sighs and goes to sleep, trying to avoid the wet area. The morning comes and he makes sure to greet her before going to wake the children. While they get ready for school, he makes breakfast, as well as lunch for them. His son and daughter come down 30 minutes later. He kisses them both and heads upstairs. She is in the bathroom, but he does not hear the sink, shower, or the toilet. He holds up his hand to knock, stops, and goes to the children's bathroom. When he returns to the room, she is in front of the mirror, putting on her makeup. He dresses and kisses her goodbye before taking the children to school. The radio morning show brings the usual good vibe, while he drops them off at their primary school. On his way to the works, he hears a story, one that turns his smile into a frightened expression. A woman killed her husband and ate large chunks of his flesh. His heartbeat quickens, thoughts and memories flash in his mind. He takes the car off the road, shuts off the radio, and cries. She enters the jewelry store, made up and well-dressed. The clerk at the desk welcomes her and shows her the day's selections. She looks over the items, seeing diamond necklaces and gold rings. A strange jewel catches her attention. A pink one on a golden medallion, resembling an eye. This jewel almost seems to look directly at her, the black dot seeming to follow her every movement. It is displayed on a black pedestal, contrasting the white ones used for every other piece in the store. The clerk tells her that the jewel is extremely rare, worth 70,000. She digs into her bag and pulls out a credit card. The clerk accepts it with a smile, putting on gloves to carefully take the amulet out of the glass case and take it to the back for proper packaging. She is handed a black case with a red ribbon tied around it, wishes the clerk a good day, and heads home. He gets a message on his phone, informing him of the purchase. He puts it down and grits his teeth. At home, she puts on the medallion and checks herself in the mirror. The golden lanyard matches well with her hair, the pink eye with her dress and long nails. She hears a car pulling up and the front door opening and shutting. Footsteps coming up the stairs, the bedroom door swinging open. She looks at him in surprise. He looks at the jewel and tells her to get out of the house. She looks at him for a moment, then laughs, stopping as his frown deepens. He wants her gone by nightfall. She asks if he's serious. He is. She walks over to him and tries to slap him. He catches her by the wrist. It is over. She pulls her hand back, throwing him across the room over the bed. He smacks into the wall, and lands on the floor. He gets up, shaking his head, looking at her with wide eyes. She returns the look, then sees her hand. The nails are growing longer and sharper. She looks at her other hand and sees the same thing happening. She screams as her mouth widens and her whole head expands like a balloon. One hand moves to her mouth, seemingly by itself, grabbing her lower jaw. The other hand does the same, but grabs her top jaw. They both pull in the opposite direction. Her screams grow louder and more pained. She feels bone dislocating, muscle and skin tearing, blood slowly pouring out and choking her. He grabs her by the arms to force him to let go, but it's no use. He watches as the top of her head, from her upper jaw, is pulled back like the hood of a jacket and falls to the ground. Her body grabs him by the wrist and knees him square in the balls, then falls back to the ground with his hand on her throat. The claws disappear just before he hears his son's voice in the doorway. Now that's a girl who knows what she wants and how to get it, up until a certain point. Hey, I'm glad that the guy finally decided to, grow a fucking backbone and stand up to her. Too bad. He did it at the wrong possible time. And what's with the kids suddenly randomly showing up? What happened to the days when kids would knock on the door and announce their arrival back home? Honestly. And 70,000? See, that's the thing I never understand about jewelry stores. It's a rock. Seriously, people. It is a rock drilled out of the ground. What are you spending that much money for? Oh, and if you were thinking that Phinki would supposedly possess him, I'm sorry to tell you that the creature only possesses women. But I did mention before, in previous episodes, that this monster is a friend to no one. It hates women as much as it hates men, so it's gonna find ways to torture them both. In this case, you kill the woman who's been abusing her husband, but make it look like the husband killed him. I mean, obviously, nobody with any level of common sense is gonna think that he somehow managed to rip his wife's head off, right? But his fingerprints are on her wrist and around her neck. Then no one's gonna believe that she somehow managed to rip her own head off either. So which one is gonna be more likely? Truly a sad tale. Honestly, one of my least favorites, actually. But it is what it is. Thank you for joining us, listeners. Be sure to tune in next time. Oh, and if you have a story of your own that you would like the master to read, be sure to contact me. I'm sure I'll make time. Goodbye, listeners.